Hi, this is Marguerite and I'm the author of the Kapheus Series of children's books, and at this moment I will read a little bit from Kapheus Spirit. And Kapheus Spirit is the new book in the Kapheus Series, out in September 2019, and this book was debuted at the Word in the Street Children's Festival in Toronto in Canada, and it was really well reviewed. It did very well, sold out in Canada, and we had a wonderful time when we were debuting it. This book, being the fifth book in the Kapheus series, the children are growing a little bit older with each book. So you have earth, air, water, fire, and now spirit. And this book begins with Eliza and Jamie are going to bed. Mum and Dad hop into bed. It's night time. It's just the same old thing. It's winter time. Normal things that happen in Ireland at winter time. Dark nights. Early to bed for everybody because there's nothing else you can do. You can't go out and play. You can't do anything great, so you just go to bed early. And that's basically it. It starts like that. But in that starting, so I emphasize that a lot, and I say, oh, they're going to bed and sleep, and then they're all kind of woken with the sound of thunder, and they think it's a clap of thunder from outside, but actually the thunderous sound is coming from deep within Kapheus. So the portal between Era and Kapheus is still wide open in Eliza's bedroom, and the sound of thunder is coming from deep within there. And as we enter into Kapheus, as the reader enters into Kapheus, they discover that the thunderous sound begins with the sound of the heartbeats of the trees in the woodlands stretching across the whole Kaphean empire. The trees' heartbeats, boom, boom, boom. And then the roots lift from beneath the earth and they start banging in a rhythmic, thunderous sound. And the rhythm is a very distinctive, defined rhythm. And all the trees are boom, boom, boom to a certain rhythm. And that rhythm summons the messenger from deep within the spirit world. And as the messenger is summoned from deep within the spirit world, the spirit of all the trees in the woodlands leaves their barks and stands almost like human-like figures next to the bark and wait for the messenger. So Dagda and his warriors, the two Hijidanan, are in the woodlands, the Kaphean woodlands, and they're woken by the sound of the doom, doom, doom. And they immediately go to Grandmother Oak to find out what the situation is. And they look into the trees and they see that the elves are almost in a meditative state. They're in the dreamland and they're sitting there completely relaxed. The dragons are in the nests in the treetops, and the dragons are simply sleeping or drifting in the dreamland, and they are not disturbed by the banging, the thunderous sound. And as Dagda looks around at his warriors, soon he sees his warriors touching the barks of trees. And as they touch the barks of trees, because the barks of trees are now glowing white. And as they touch them, they too enter the dreamland. Dagda is standing there, becoming very, very nervous about the situation. They are completely vulnerable, completely helpless. They're open to attack now at this stage. And he doesn't know what to do. All of his warriors have entered this dreamland. He stands there, he looks on the ground, and he sees that the roots of the trees banging, 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 and he decides to step away, not to get caught, not to touch a root of a tree, not to touch a bark, not to touch a branch, not to touch anything. And then he sees it, a white light glowing in the distance. And he said to Grandmother Oak, "What is it?" But she doesn't answer him. And the white light approaches him, a ball of white light. And he's looking and he's looking, he's trying to see what it is. And as it gets closer and closer and closer to him, he begins to see large, beautiful wings. And he looks again, and then he turns to Grandmother Oak and he says, "Grandmother Oak, what is this?" And by the time he looks back, the light goes straight through his body and out the other side. He turns around, and Grandmother Oak, and he looks at Grandmother Oak again, and then he looks at this figure of a woman with large white wings. And he said, "Who are you?" She says, I am the messenger. I am all things and all places. And she leaves the woodland. And Dagda races to catch up with her, but he can't catch up with her because she's drifting from the woodland into the meadow, and he looks at her as she's passing through the meadow and in the direction of Kapheus, or in the direction of Éire, Eliza and Jamie's home in Ireland. So she's moving in that direction. And he doesn't know what to do. And then Eliza's asleep in her bed. Nothing happens, nothing. She doesn't know anything about what has happened that night in Kapheus. And Eliza woke early that morning, the next morning, as the rays of sunlight cast their light upon her bed. She felt that she had slept exceptionally well that night, the night before, and felt very refreshed on awakening. Eliza left her room to take a shower without noticing Joachim sitting on her bedroom floor and gazing intently into the drawing. Eliza returned to her room a number of minutes later to gather her clothes from the wardrobe and walked out of her room again. Joachim did not budge from his position on the bedroom floor and did not take his eyes from the drawing. It was only when Eliza returned to her room for the final time that morning that Joachim stood up and looked even more intently into the drawing. See you later, Joachim, Eliza said and left. Jamie scrambled for his watch to check the time. Then, with great urgency, he threw the blankets off himself and rushed to get dressed. First his brown velvet trousers, then his long white t-shirt, and finally his navy sweatshirt were pulled on. Jamie ran to his dresser to find a pair of stockings and then grabbed his navy shoes from the corner of the room. He brushed the dust from the white soles and quickly slipped into his stockings and shoes and looked at the time again. His level of urgency continued to grow as he scrambled to find the imperial topaz stone he had left in the top drawer of his bedside locker. Pencils, pens, markers, marbles and notepads stood in his way as he feverishly searched through the contents of the drawer. Have it, he said. He pulled the lump of chewing gum off the imperial topaz and swiftly left the room. Jamie stood outside Eliza's bedroom for a second to listen. He sounded 2 gentle knocks on her door and listened again. Eliza? He whispered. There was no response. Eliza, he whispered again. Jamie then heard the door of his mother's room open and swiftly stepped inside. He immediately made his way to the drawing and stood tall while holding his imperial topaz stone tightly in his hand. I had a dream, Jamie said, but the black wolf did not respond. Joachim was drawn to the figure in Kapheus, and the sound of Jamie's voice could not lure him away. Jamie looked at the glowing figure walking towards them from the Kaphean meadow with the same intensity as the black wolf. Time seemed to drift away, along with all his thoughts and feelings. There was nothingness. Yet it wasn't nothingness. Time just moved. Or maybe it stood still. Jamie wasn't sure. Aideen was next to knock on the door of Eliza's room and to step inside. I wasn't expecting to see you here, Aideen said as she approached the drawing on Eliza's bedroom wall. She too looked into the drawing but was less transfixed by the figure. You've awoken, Aideen said. She placed her hand on Jamie's shoulder before leaving the room. Yeah, I woke up a while ago. I'm up a while, yeah, Jamie said, while still transfixed on the happenings in Kapheus, but his mother was already gone. That's not what she meant, said Joachim. Jamie became distracted by something moving at the corner of his eye and looked away from the drawing. That something kept wriggling under the blankets of Eliza's bed until finally it reached the pillow and its head popped out. Gasper, I thought you were in Kapheus with Bamba. He usually sleeps in, and I think Eliza has made a deal with Bamba to leave him so. Bamba will be here shortly to collect him, Joachim said. Don't eat that, Jamie exclaimed, pulling Eliza's fire roper from Gasper's mouth. Are you hungry? I'll get you something, Jamie said, and lifted the little white dragon into his arms. He turned to look into the drawing, but the figure had disappeared. Where's that light gone? Jamie asked Joachim. It's in Éire now, Joachim said, leaving the room. In Éire? What do you mean? the messenger has entered Eliza's world. And Eliza and Jamie, well, are they in deep trouble? Or will everything be okay? You have to read to find out. So this is Kapheus Spirit, and this book can be purchased online at kapheus.com, Kapheus.com. And when you purchase it online, you'll have a signed copy from me with a special inscription to the child in your life. Thank you for listening.